This is IA Forward, your playbook for success as an independent insurance agent. Now, here to help you knock it out of the ballpark are your hosts, Shane Tatum, Tanya Lead, Mike Basil, and Robbie Jabor.
Welcome to IA Forward. We are celebrating so many things today. The first thing I want to say is Happy Mardi Gras. And for you guys in Texas and New York, that just means it's Tuesday.
We see the pictures, we know what you guys are doing in Louisiana. I guess, are you trying to make Florida do it too? Is that what?
No, Florida is actually the third place. So Mobile was first, New Orleans was second, and Pensacola was the third. And so we have three distinctive Mardi Gras celebrations here on the Gulf Coast. But they've celebrated Mardi Gras in Pensacola for pretty much as long as they've celebrated in Alabama and Louisiana. So it's a really big deal here.
I know it's a big deal. I guess it's just not anything I've ever been around. Maybe it is definitely a cultural thing, right? It's definitely a cultural thing. And I am just one of those agnostic situations, I guess, where I don't really get excited either way about
You don't
Mardi
get
Gras.
excited about anything.
But I don't get excited about anything, and it's very well documented that I don't get excited about anything.
Yeah, your blood pressure doesn't really rise or fall.
No, it just stays way up here.
You should think about playing poker, Shane.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe so.
I don't know, but I'm telling y'all, Shane's first cousin is Olympic curling. He is on the U.S. Olympic curling team. It's unreal to watch this guy that looks so much like Shane. Just that real mellow.
I haven't seen this guy yet at all. Like, I guess I need to look him up to get a reference point. Is it the guy that they subbed in, the old guy or something like that?
It's the Daniel. I don't think he's the sub in. I think he's like
okay.
All
right. I saw the article about the guy that got subbed in. He's now the oldest Olympic athlete in history.
Yes. Was it? Yeah. He beat a figure skater from like back in the 30s.
A figure skater was old?
Yeah, it was a male figure skater that had held that record from like long time ago.
That doesn't match in my brain very well. Like an older figure skater actually in the Olympics. I don't care when it was, but that maybe was a frozen pond in the 30s. Maybe it wasn't even a reef. So
the other thing we're celebrating beyond Mardi Gras, we have been doing this for 4 years today. This podcast. Yes. And I still have a job, which is amazing.
It feels like we've been doing it for 4 years just today, right? Just today.
Man, I feel unprepared. I had no props for this.
Well, in the notes, it did say anniversary episode. But this is when I learned that no one ever reads what we're talking about or what's going on. I put it out there.
You're podcasting with three dudes. We have no idea what we're doing in 5 minutes. And so we are not well planned. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, just be happy we showed up on time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, job security.
That's right. That's right.
So our topic today came from a conversation that we had about 2 weeks ago. And it was actually a conversation with one of our very friendly partner network, I guess competitors, but one we have a really great relationship with. And the conversation was, if you don't tell your story, then somebody else will.
Yeah, it resonated with me a lot because, and it continues to resonate. It's resonated this week. Like, not only if you don't tell your story, somebody else will, but if you don't speak, if you don't talk to people about your why, if you don't tell your story to people, then they're going to fill that vacuum or that void with their own created thoughts, right? And that could be somebody else will tell your story for you, or that can be somebody will create the story or perception in their own brain.
This is one of those places that you've really shifted, Shane, because when I first came to Integra almost 9 years ago, that wasn't your theory. And it was very much, if we do what we're supposed to do, other people will tell our story. The right people are going to find us. And I could really see a shift in your thought process on this over the past almost decade.
Yeah, perception is reality. And I don't like that. Like, I don't like that perception is reality. However, you can't stop or change what people perceive. You have to go out and you have to say something about it. And I think that's the thing that has made me shift in my thought on this a little bit, is that as you grow, as you build a business, as you do things in the market, I guess become more successful in the market, people have perceptions. And, if you don't speak up, if you don't tell the story, then those perceptions can be completely different than anything it is. I have something right now, like KU Kansas basketball is a top 10 team, always perennial successful basketball program. They have a freshman right now that is preseason All-American, projected number 1 pick in the NBA, upcoming NBA draft. He's kind of a projected one and done kind of player. And he has struggled physically. He struggled with some cramps, leg cramps. He struggled with a hamstring problem. Just in the most recent victory against at number 1 Arizona, he didn't play. Like, supposedly he had the flu, and he's missed a significant number of games, and he's been quiet, right? Like, everything's been quiet. He's a huge NIL thing. He's got an agent, he's got parents who are trying to look out for him. There's just quietness. And so what you see going on, though, is you see in that vacuum of no communication, of no information, you see the age we live in coming in and creating their own narrative. He's soft. He's selfish. He's all these other things. And, Bill Self, the coach at KU, came out yesterday to defend him, and basically to say, all the narratives are wrong, social media is wrong. But it's just an example of the world we live in. And with our businesses, with our agencies, we have to tell our story. And if we don't tell our story, our competition may tell our story for us, right? Others who don't know us very well may tell our stories for us. So yes, I have shifted here. Doesn't mean I love it, but I have made a shift that we need to be better at telling our own story.
Yeah, you see it in sports all the time, especially football. Like, the GM will come out in the season wrap up and he'll give the list of ailments that the team's best players dealt with half the season, 3/4 of the season, that no one ever knew about, because they're trying to educate you on why things didn't quite go the way you had hoped in that particular year, right? So yeah, that's for sure a thing. But I think it's super important because you can use that as differentiation as well when you're talking about telling your story, right? That's a way for you to connect with someone if you're first talking to them, or if it's an existing customer. Telling your story is a way for you to put yourself out there a little bit and allow someone in a little bit so that they can have something with you, some sort of a connection with you.
Want to break the assumptions, right? I mean, like because if you don't, then you're just another agency, you're just another business, and there's no personal connection. You don't want to be just another agent. You want to build relationships and be well known so people know who you are. I mean, we preach agents being the brand, right? Like it's fine from the perspective like, hey, you've got a certain name that you want to name your agency, but I often find agents ask, well, why should I use my name? Well, you're the brand, right? I mean, that's how you start connecting with your community and people know who you are, and that's who they're doing business with. So, yeah.
Yeah. This, and that's a great point. We've always talked about you are the brand, and I think stories just connect us. I mean, y'all know I like telling stories. I've been around some really good storytellers in my life. Some fictional storytellers, maybe not full truths when they're telling stories. I'm in East Texas. We're a big fishing community. The stories of the one that got away. I mean, just things like that. And I've been around a lot of old timers that love to tell stories, and it resonates within building relationships. And I don't mean like telling stories that are embellishing or not truthful, but we all have a story. Like everyone has a story. And I think, to kind of Tanya's comment about a shift from maybe her early days here, it's recognizing that when you've been doing something and you've created memories or you've created things throughout your career, that you actually have a story to tell. Like everyone has a story to tell, and that story connects us with others. And since this is a relationship business, it becomes really, really important, right? Like, why should this customer do business with you? Like, why? Just because somebody referred them, or because they bought a lead, you bought a lead, and now they're at your doorstep. Like, I think understanding like why the customer should do business with us is a really important part about why we should tell our story.
And Shane, what you just said to me is so key to the conversation, because telling people, will tell your story. Okay, well, then it becomes about me telling about who I am. And ultimately, our clients, our customers want to know what's in it for them. So we can talk all day long about, you should do business with us because we've been in business 44 years. Well, I mean, that's great. That's part of our story, but that doesn't really make a difference to our client, right? So when we tell our story, we have to tell it in a way of what's in it for them, as opposed to all about us.
Yeah, there's something very vivid to me right now, thinking about early season baseball, early season softball, and you have. I was actually just talking to you guys before we started about, it's that time of year where, in at the college level, the all-state players that are freshmen now on college campuses come in, and all of a sudden they for the first time maybe they realize that everybody on the field was all state in their respective high schools, and they were all the best players in their respective high schools. And now it's the best of the best rising to the top. And sometimes those freshmen have rude awakenings if they weren't prepared well, by their parents, if they weren't prepared by their coaches. And a lot of times that turns inward to making it personal about themselves and making it where, they become very selfish, right? And the minute they can turn that around and make it about the success of their teammate, the success of their team, things get better for them, right? It just gets better. They work harder. And so very similar for us. If we focus on, our story through the lens of our customers and what's in it for our customers and why our customers should do business with us, then things just get easier. It's natural. You're not making anything up. Like, you're not having to be an actor in a play. Like, you're just being truthful, brutally honest, authentic in a world where authenticity isn't everywhere, right? The best videos on social media are the most authentic videos, right? I've put out some content here recently, and some of the best videos as far as performing were the videos that were off the cuff, that were not, there was nothing done well to the videos from an edit standpoint. And so, the same thing goes with how to tell your story. And, yes, think about your customer, where, starts with them, but also, being vulnerable and being honest. Like, we talk about failure a lot. That's part of our story, is there was a lot of failure. And so being able to be brutally honest about that and authentic about that is very natural when you let that guard down.
You do videos?
I did.
I should check those out.
Well, you got to create a social media page, Mike, or an account to be able to see.
Yeah, you actually have to be on social media to see the video.
Okay, wait a minute. Robbie, seriously, you're the one that's going to call him out on that.
Yeah, well, I was hoping you would call me out on that call.
I mean, as soon as it came out of your mouth, I'm like, okay, guys, come on.
Well,
Come
so
on.
I'm guilty of sharing a Facebook account with my wife. So, I mean, I do see things. And so I'm one of those guys, that it's, spouse Ian, Robbie, Jabbar, whatever.
Yeah.
This is how bad I am. Like, I'll get into whatever, doesn't matter, fantasy football league or something. And one of my buddies would be like, okay, just Venmo me over the money. I don't even have that. I gotta be like, hey, Melissa, can you Venmo this account $50, please?
Right.
How did you survive and not have Venmo? Like, what? How?
I just told you how.
That's right. I have Julie. I don't have Venmo. It's a really cool app. It's always with me.
That's weird.
Oh, man. But to get back on course here, I learned something really valuable from someone in our office some time ago on like how to do this. Because I remember I was on my first late sales call, which involved some additional people being on the call, and they got on the call, and the first thing they did was not, hey, we're excited to have you. We're going to do this, that, and the other thing for you. You're going to do great with us. It was, let me introduce myself. I have a husband. I have 3 kids. I have 4 grandkids. And then just went into a little bit about how she got into insurance, how long she's been in insurance. And then that allowed the conversation to go in a direction that was super authentic and not just, here's what we've got for you. And that's how many people call in? Yeah, I need insurance. Oh, we've got the best insurance. Okay, but everybody's going to say that. So if you started out differently and do something different that allows the person on the other end to put their guard down a little bit, that just makes that connection.
Yeah. It does remove the barrier, right? Like it does make it personal. I know that's one of our core values at Integra, is make it personal. The whole point there is to break down those barriers. I mean, in a world where trust is hard and people have been burned, or whatever is in their past, just getting to the point of authentic trust. And one way to do that is to make it personal, to just, hey, here's who I am. Here's what I look like when I'm not at work, right? Here's what my world looks like. And, people will talk all day long about their kids, about their grandkids, about their pets, which in a lot of cases, that's their kids. And so, people will break that down, and that's not manipulation, just to be clear. That is just slowing down and having a conversation. Like just, if you're just immediately just trying to sell people on something, that generally turns people off. And that's why we talk about with our partner network program, not trying to be salesy, but just, hey, who are you? This is who we are. Is there a match here? Does this fit you? Like, it's not the only way you're going to be successful is you have to join us. I mean, that's not a true statement, right? There are people who can be successful in a lot of different networks or, on their own. We think there is a viable reason to be a part of our network for the right person, right? And we are trying to uncover that. We're trying to figure that out. If you want to call that a sales process, fine. I don't think it is a sales process. I think it's just understanding who someone is, who a prospect is, and helping them understand who we are.
Being authentic, and really immersing yourself in what you do and loving what you do. I saw that a few weeks ago. We had the opportunity here in Florida to spend the evening with Joe Espada and Carlos Mendoza. They are, of course, two major league managers who used to play minor league ball here in Pensacola back in 2004, 2005. And I found it so interesting. It was a really intimate kind of evening. They told their stories from the stage and then took questions and allowed people to talk to them, and then a reception afterwards. And it was free to our community. It wasn't a foo-foo event. It was at a community center, and it was just a really, really great evening. But you could tell that the more successful of the two managers had really immersed himself in the culture of his team. The other one talked about team culture, and he said all the right things. He had done all the right things. But one of the questions that they asked him was, who is the greatest player of your team of all time? And he didn't have an answer. Where when the other coach, the other manager was able to say, oh, well, that would be X, Y, and Z. And the fact that this one major league manager couldn't come up with a single team player in the past 100 years that could be considered one of the best told me that he's a manager. He's not immersed in the culture. He's not there with the fans. He may not even be there with his players. And between the two, one has had much bigger success than the other. And I really found that fascinating in that moment of he was missing authenticity as a manager because he really didn't know the history of his team.
Yeah, that's I think that's a great point. And it kind of goes back to getting to know people. Like, are you investing in people? Are you willing to invest knowing that you may not get the return? I think that's the first step. Is we have to be able to invest in people knowing that if one of us doesn't step forward first, then neither one of us are going to step forward. And so I've always looked at that as, hey, we're going to step forward first. I'm going to step forward first, be the example. I want our people to step forward first. We're going to go ahead and make that investment. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. And it served us well in our partner network for us to do that. I think it's something like a 98.2% retention of agents in our network in the last in the last 15 years since we started. I think a lot of that comes from investing first, because when you get to know someone, just like the manager Tanya's talking about, the one that is immersed, the one that is engaging with the players, engaging with the fans, if you are the one stepping first, the risk is that you get burned, right? The risk is that I don't know, somebody takes advantage of you or whatever, all the reasons that we can dream up, talk about, come up with for why we should, not invest without a guarantee. Part of being in a business and running a business and starting a business is there are no guarantees. And I think we look around and we're looking for guarantees on the return. And really what we need to do is we need to just be stepping forward and engaging and telling our story. And that will give you all the return that you're ever going to need. Like, when we started our partner network 15 years ago now, it just became what we did. And we talked a lot about, should our contract say certain things? Should there be a buyout? Should there be hooks in the agreement? And we just came to the conclusion that it wasn't who we were, and it was unnecessary. And, it's worked for us. It's worked for us to be the organization that's like, hey, be here because you're happy, not because you have to be here, but be here because you're happy. And I think that goes a long ways with, like, on the retail agency side, like, you want customers who want to do business with you. You don't want customers who feel like they don't have a choice, that they have to stay with you. I think it just changes the game.
Yeah, you can't come at people from a disingenuous place. Like, you're going to ask them questions because you're going to try to pull them out, but you don't really care. I mean, that's going to show through. So if that's the mindset you're in going into a call, you might as well not bother picking that phone call up. You're not going to get that person as a client. They're not connecting with you. Now you're just playing a game, and they're going to see through that. And then it's just going to be a price-based thing all the time. That's the other part of it is, if you make that connection and your quote comes in a little higher, someone may still go with you because they feel more comfortable with you.
Yeah, the products that we sell in this industry, 95% of the community doesn't know anything about that product. So the last thing you want to do is make them feel like they're, they don't know what they're talking about, or, just a lack of understanding. So that's very impactful when you approach it that way, and you're genuine and you're welcoming, and you present it in a way where they feel like they're very comfortable with you. They're very comfortable with the agency. So that's a sticking point.
Yeah, I think that connects very well with the plain language movement conversations that we've had, through the years. We had one recently about just being able to talk to people where they are. And that doesn't mean talk down to people, right? I think people they interpret it like they're talking down to people, but that's not at all what plain language is. And when we tell our story, we need to be telling our story in a plain language way. We don't need to be telling our stories in a insurance speak way, right? Like that it's going to turn people off. It's going to miss people all the way around. And, I don't want to make this sound like you probably are going to have to practice some of this. Like, maybe it's natural. Maybe it's easy for some versus others. But what I mean by that is, if you don't watch out, you'll be trying to tell your story robotically, and you don't want to do that. Like, you want at least talk to yourself in your head or in the car by yourself. Like, tell your story in some way that you can kind of hear yourself. Like, I know when I do things like that, like sometimes I sound stupid, and, it's like, okay, I don't need to say it that way because that sounded dumb. And, you kind of figure out that You figure out what your own weaknesses are, and then you learn how to deal with that. And it makes you understand that you can be authentic and because it's your story, right? If it's true, if it's real and true, it'll be authentic and it'll be natural, right? It'll be very natural. But you probably do have to practice a little bit of that to understand what you're talking about, because your story doesn't need to be 12 minutes long, Shane, right? Like it doesn't need to be, you need to have your elevator pitch story, and it needs to be something that you can do and say and naturally, and it just becomes how you go about it. And I don't want to make this sound like it's, I don't necessarily say rehearsed. That's not what I mean, but you probably do have to practice this a little bit.
Yeah, practice it in the line at the grocery store. You'll get your practice in, and magically the line in front of you will disappear.
Disappears. It just parts like the Red Sea, right?
Yeah, awesome.
I want to go back to a point that Shane made a moment ago about sometimes you have to step forward and invest in people, even when there's no guarantee of a return. In talking with agents over the years, especially agency owners over the years, and talking about educating their people and trusting them with really talking with customers and helping them through producer school and marketing school and making those fiscal investments in people. And they're hesitant to do that because they say, well, what if I invest this $10,000 in getting them trained and doing all of these things, and then they leave? And then they take part of my book with them, right? And I hear agents they're very, very concerned about that, right? And I understand that from a business perspective. That is where culture is so incredibly important. If you invest in your people, you treat them right, they stay. Like when I look at our Integra social media pages, and we have people that have been Shane's girls. And I use that term because it drives Shane crazy.
Yeah.
That's what people call, so many of his team members, right? But if you look at the people that have been with Shane and Shane's family, and their numbers like 28 years and 29 years and 26 years, like that doesn't happen in 2026. Like that, those kinds of numbers are back in that era when you went to work for the phone company right out of high school or right out of college, and you worked for 30 years. And at the end of 30 years, they gave you a watch and you retired. People change jobs now every 18 to 36 months. So the fact that we have that kind of employee retention at Integra means something. And that is because it's an organization that invests in their people. And then we have a culture of it's okay to be a real person, right? In the last week, my mother has caught her house on fire and she had a heart attack. And, it's so many companies.
It's not funny, but when you say it like that, we gotta quit doing it like that.
Right. And so, it wasn't that I had this like sinking feeling in my heart of not only are these things going on, but I didn't have to reach out to Shane and be like, can I please take off from work? My mother's just, caught her house on fire. It was, hey, can I please go out? Like I really need to go over to mom's. This has just happened. Or I've been at the hospital all night with mom, and Shane's like, please keep me posted. That's why people stay. And that's why when you invest in your people, when they're successful, they stay with you, right?
Yeah. I yes. And I want to say something on that because I'm terrible at recognition. and I want to make a point that the gold watch, you brought that up, the 5-year, 10-year, 15-year plaques, like we've never done that because I'm terrible at that. And I just feel like I just don't feel like it's valuable, right? What's valuable is not missing a ball game. What's valuable is being able to do what you got to do when you got to do it, because life happens. And so that may be part of your story. That is a part of our story. And it started with my dad telling me not to miss a ball game. Right. And so how can, so how could I say I'm not going to miss a ball game, but not tell our people they can't miss a ball game? And so that culture is just stepping forward and realizing that, okay, are there risk in that? Sure, there's risk in that, right? You hire people and you have payroll and, something's not getting accomplished or something is not working right. And it's because someone's taking advantage of you or something like that. I can tell you that has been a very minuscule percentage of the time for us. It's happened a few times. And it's one of those things that is worth the risk, right? When you step forward and you say, okay, wait a minute, what's really important to people? Is it the recognition on social media? I mean, I know people love that, but is it that? Is it the plaque? Is it the watch? No, it's putting yourself where they are and realizing that as a business owner, an agency owner, you have that flexibility. So if you extend that flexibility to your people, the risk is, I don't know, something, right? There's risk in that. But if you do that and that allows them to stay and want to stay, man, that stability for your clients is so much greater than the risk of a few lost hours of work. Like I never understood the people who can't get there, right? Like they can't mentally get there. And I think that's a part of our story, right? That's definitely a part of our story with our employee retention, people that have been here for a long time.
One other thing, Shane, that I'd like to add to what you're saying about, employee retention is that I see you have over the last 10 years, 7 years that I've been here. I've seen you put people in the right seat, right? Like they may not have started in the right seat, but they've ended up in the right seat. And I think that the morale around that has helped tremendously, which I think it's important when you're evaluating bringing someone on just for, whatever business you're in, making sure that personality fits in the right seat that you're looking for.
Yeah. In this small world with the way the interwebs work now, if your story includes authenticity and it's always authentic, that statement earlier about doing something with no return, you actually have no idea when something is or isn't going to have a return. You don't know if that person is going to come back to you in 6 months or going to say, I made a mistake and come right back, or anything else that you can think of. If you are authentic with people, it will work out for you in the long run. I guarantee it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's right. That's right.
I love to hear Shane tell the story about how our retail agency started. And I will let you do it because you do it better than I do. But I love it when Shane talks about his dad's truck and how the agency got started with like the file box in the back of his dad's truck. And then like the agency was doing so poorly that when his cousin wanted to leave, he actually had to buy his way out to leave.
Yeah.
So I'm going to let you tell that just because it's so fantastic.
Yeah. Well, I've always said I'm second generation in the insurance industry, independent agency system, because my dad, who was a banker, decided with a cousin of his in his mid-20s that it would be a good idea for them to buy this small town insurance agency as a side hustle. This was before there were side hustles, right? I guess, it was just whatever it was. And they bought this agency. They overpaid for it because they didn't know what they were doing. They didn't know anything. Like that's the really crazy part about this. This is 1983 and they didn't know anything. And my dad had this Chevy pickup. And he talked about when they bought the book of business, he got a file box handed to him by the agent that he bought it from. And the entire book of business fit in this one box. Like all the files fit in this one box. And, in a dad joke kind of way, my dad used to say, I had the first mobile office in the insurance industry, right? Like it was basically, it would sit in his truck. And, of course they got an office and, the cousin, he and the cousin grew up hunting and fishing and growing up together as best friends. And about 3 years in, to Tanya's point, they're doing so poorly that the balance sheet is negative, the negative equity on the balance sheet. They borrowed money to buy this book that was virtually non-existent almost. They didn't know what they were doing. They lost company contracts. They didn't understand. They had to go broker some business with other agents just to write some accounts. It was terrible. And, so the cousin's like, you know what? I think I'm going to go to grad school now and I'm out. And so he had to write my dad a check to get out of the business. And my dad didn't have to buy him out. The guy had to write a check to get out because the business was doing so poorly and it was so upside down with negative equity. And, from that very, very humble beginning in a town of less than 2,000 people is what started our story. Like that initiated our story. We started our agency network out of that small town agency that, a few years later, 1995, that I came to work for. And, I had asked my dad, this was the really interesting thing, the forethought that I credit to him. When I'm a finance major, finance degree, I'm getting ready to graduate. A lot of things happening in 1995, getting engaged, graduating, baseball career coming to an end in college, getting married and going to work full time, first time adult job. And I'm asking my dad, okay, I'm thinking investments. I'm thinking like investment banker or stockbroker back in those days. That's what we called it. I'm thinking traditional banker or I'm thinking insurance. The only question I'll ask you is if you had to do it over again, which one would you focus on? And he never hesitated. He said insurance, 100%, 10 out of 10. And I said, okay, well, can I learn in your business? Absolutely. And so, that was over Christmas break. In June, when the season was over, I went to work, studied, got my license, went to producing business. And that was the beginning of getting to today, right? And so that was huge forethought for a man who was in the banking business and who understood the way of the world, of where the world was going at a very early age. And he didn't force me into the insurance industry. He simply answered a question. Out of these three areas that a finance major would go into or consider going into, which of these things would you go into if you had it to do over? And so I thought that's always something that resonates with me. And I would tell anyone that asked me that question the same exact answer. You know, if somebody says, okay, what kind of industry, what should I go into? And, you know, I'm going to say insurance. I'm going to say at least check out the insurance industry.
That must have been quite a book of business to fit in a box. Now, for those who are like 35 or younger, to put that into context, the first agency that I went to work for in 2001 had 10 to 12 file cabinets, 3 rows, about 6 feet long each.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wondered if any of the people that age even knew what, and lower that we're talking about, knew what a file box was. So it's basically the size of a medium-ish Amazon box at my house.
Let's make sure we get an Amazon reference for the rest of the world. For the Gen Zs and the millennials, right?
Yeah, medium Amazon box.
That's awesome.
Well, happy Mardi Gras, everybody. Happy 4-year anniversary, Shane. It has been a fantastic ride so far with the IA Forward podcast, with the IA Forward community. And I really just want to say, hey, if someone's listening and wants to come play with us, we would love to have you join our community. If you want to start an independent agency or want to learn how to expand your independent agency, reach out to us at integrapartnernetwork.com, and we would love to talk with you. Also, if you just have a question that you want answered on our podcast, let us know. We would love to answer any questions. And be sure to click that subscribe button on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, or however you're listening to us. How was that?
That was wonderful. No.
I'm going to leave us today with this quote from Babe Ruth. It's hard to beat a person who never gives up.
Attitude's a choice. Make a great one.
Bye, y'all.
At the Integra Partner Network, we understand that carrier access is the key to your agency's success. That's why Integra offers direct access to top-rated personal and commercial carriers, ensuring your agency thrives in today's challenging market. And with our comprehensive resources, profit sharing and bonus opportunities, technology and peer support, all while you retain 100% of your book with no penalties to exit. Integra is ready to empower you and your agency to find sustained growth. Find your way to Integra. Visit IntegraPartnerNetwork.com today. That's IntegraPartnerNetwork.com.